Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and RHOLM22 is Ryan's. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, all those good things to the podcast, whether you're listening to it or if you're watching it on YouTube. We appreciate all the time and the comments and all that stuff like that, especially for those folks who watch it all the way to the end or listen to all the way to the end. We get those analytics, so we appreciate that as well. Ryan, how are you?
Doing good. Out here in Palm Springs, we're recording a day late here, but I've been busy the last couple of days, and break away today. Let's talk about this Rams game. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. So let me just start with one thing real quick. So the whole the car narrative, right? So the car narrative after Crygate was he actually was getting momentum in his favor. What I'm saying? People were saying, hey, you heard the broadcast say, hey, all these coordinators, all these coaches, all this time, and now they really have a stranglehold on what they want to do offensively. He's getting things pointed in the right direction, and the momentum is going his way. So as soon as that happens, we see one of the top 10 worst interceptions. I thought the Chuck and Duck interception he had against the Chiefs a while back was a bad one. That game was already over. This game is you're playing an inferior opponent. You talk about when Gruden was here, he talked about how well he takes care of the football. He didn't take care of the football in this moment at all, and that interception, along with a lot of other plays, really was kind of a culmination of Derek Carr and who he has been for the Raiders in the red zone. I saw an interview with Peter King, who likes Derek Carr. He said, I like Derek Carr a lot, but people who criticize Derek Carr, I understand, because that play was one of the most god-awful plays. A veteran 10-year quarterback, you just can't make. There actually is, if he just tucks the ball and runs and goes to the right, is actually a huge running lane. I think Keenan Cole was also underneath available. He talked about and on that play as well, which is even more concerning, the fact that Matt Collins was open in the back of the infield. Back of the end zone. I watched that play several times. There was never a point in that play where I thought Matt Collins was open. So that ball was going to go to Matt Collins no matter what, and that's a problem.
Well, the bigger issue is Davante Adams is wide open too. That would have got a first down.
Who's that?
Davante Adams was open. The guy they didn't throw the ball to in the second half. But, yeah, the momentum was going in his favor. This is kind of who Derek Carr has been in his career. There's ups and there's downs and there's peaks and there's valleys and there's really good play and then there's very questionable play. And this week we got the questionable play. And the consistency to do it over – it's a 17-game season now. He hasn't even approached doing it over 10 games. It's always 4 or 5 games, couple down games, 2 or 3 games, down game. He hasn't been able to string together, 10, 12, 13 consecutive weeks where he's playing at a fairly high level. And a lot of that has to do across the league with the defenses you're facing, your offensive line, those things. I get it. There's a lot of issues. But in year 9, you can't throw that interception in the end zone. And I agree with you. I haven't seen the all 22 of the offense. I'm just getting done with the defense. But Matt Collins was not open. There was 2 defenders, if not more, between Derek Carr and him.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that want to make excuses for Derek Carr keep talking about, the lineman was being pushed back into him. That's false. Derek Carr stepped up to avoid the rusher coming around him from the right side and stepped into the lineman when you were right. There was a hole if he tucks that and goes to the right, but he was kind of panicking and just tried to get rid of the ball really quick. And you can't have those mistakes in the red zone. And to me, the red zone has always been Derek Carr's downfall. He's very good between the 20s. He's very good at the line pre-snap. He's very good at getting you in and out of plays, getting into the right run plays, reading the fronts. He doesn't complete passes in the red zone. This has always been our critical things about him. He doesn't throw the ball into the end zone in the red zone, and he doesn't complete passes in the red zone. He is I'm not making. He's the worst starting quarterback in the NFL in the red zone completion percentage-wise. He's completing 39% of his passes inside the 20 and 31% of passes inside the 10. He has to throw the ball 3 times inside the 10 to complete 1 pass. That's not good. He's 9 for 29 passing down there. And that's what separates the quarterbacks. You want to be an elite quarterback, you have to throw touchdowns. The one thing Derek Carr doesn't do is throw a lot of touchdowns. He has 20 touchdowns in 13 games and 13 turnovers. So he can be good enough here to where, like, we've kind of seen peak Derek Carr, I would say, in 2016. Clearly, last year he had a fairly good year. He has Davante Adams, and he's the worst quarterback in the red zone in the NFL when it comes to completing passes. We've heard the excuses. It's the play caller. It's Gruden. It's McDaniels. It's this. It's Tuesday. It's Wednesday. It's raining. It's hot. Like
Tuesday,
whatever the excuses are, he's never done it in his entire career. This has been an issue every year of his entire career. Outside of his rookie year, he was good in the red zone, but they were so bad offensively. It was a very, very, very small sample size. Like probably one of the lowest number of passing attempts in the red zone in the league. Last year, it was. They don't run the ball in the red zone. They don't give the ball to Jacobs. It's not his fault. Well, guess what? Jacobs has the 3rd most carries in the red zone of any running back in the league this year. They are trying to run the ball in the red zone. He's getting into favorable down and distances, not completing passes. He's too conservative. And what it comes down to is he can't create outside of the pocket, outside of the play when it breaks down in the red zone. And he throws the ball away, which is a good decision. Get a field goal when you can. But at some point, you got to score touchdowns. He's going to send Daniel Carlson to a lot of Pro Bowls if he doesn't fix that issue.
So another thing about the Carr narrative as well, too, is that back in the day, we used to see the best quarterback in our era of watching Raider football has been, I think we're close to the same age, has been Rich Gannon. Yeah. So when there's certain plays coming in from whether Callahan or Gruden, and he didn't like those plays, what would we typically see? We would see a competitive head coach and a competitive quarterback yelling and screaming about, hey, what the bleep is going on out here? I'm seeing something different than what you're seeing. I want to be, maybe somebody wants to be more aggressive. Maybe, Gruden's calling too many pass plays and he's saying that we should be running it more, but vice versa. So the thing that's concerning to me about Derek is the fact that like this narrative has been built about you forever. So when are you gonna come when you get the run pass like sequence and you're playing against a defense that gave up almost 400 yards to Geno Smith and gave up 2 100-yard receiving situations to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf? Why don't you bring your best friend, number 17, to the coach on the sidelines and say, listen, let's go after this. Like, let's challenge this and let's go after this. Worst come to worst, maybe we're gonna get a pass interference, but we can't sit there and put him in motion. Do whatever you have to do to give him some room off of Jalen Ramsey. But especially when he goes 3 for 71 yards, that's like, damn, that's a lot of room there. I mean, like that sounds like you're gonna have like a 150, 60 yard good day. When are you gonna take control of your own career instead of saying, I gotta do what Josh says, I gotta do what this guy says? Like, it's year 10.
That's who Derek is, though, and we know that he wants to please people. He's never going to be that guy. It wasn't an ultra conservative game plan, and they ran the ball a lot. They only threw the ball 7 times in the second half. Now, part of that is when you don't complete passes on 3rd and medium or 3rd and short, you don't get to run more plays. So he was 2 of 7 throwing in the second half, and I want to say both completions were to running backs. So he didn't get the ball to a skill position player outside of running back in the entire second half. I haven't seen the offensive all 22, so I don't know what happened. But watching it, I didn't see it live. I saw the replay, and he didn't. They ran a lot. They ran a lot on 3rd down in the red zone. They ran, I think, 3 times on 3rd down.
Yeah.
They didn't. To me, for Derek. We want to give him all the credit for the Josh Jacobs run at the end of the game in Seattle because he killed the play in the huddle because it has a pass run option. Most of these plays have 2 options. And at any point, if we want to give him credit for killing pass plays to get into run plays that are successful, we also have to look at the other side of it. He does have the option on some of these plays, not all of them. There are options where he can kill the run and call the pass play.
Exactly.
And he's not really doing that. Now, that might be because of the front that he's facing and it's favorable to the run he wants to run, but they had no success running this game. Jacobs had 27 carries for 99 yards. He was under 3 yards a carry.
Yep.
And what bothers me about the game plan for McDaniels is the only thing that the only thing the Rams defense can do is stop the run. That's it. That's the only thing they can do. Yeah. And they just put their head down and kept running. And I remember, I looked at, whoever I was watching the game with when it was 16-3, and I said, they're going to lose this game 17-16. Like, I just had that feeling like they have to score again. And this is another half where the offense basically did nothing. They scored 3 points. There's been 3 times this year they've had under 70 yards in the second half. In 3 games, they lost all 3. So the defense obviously did not play well the last 2 drives. Mm-hmm. The defense did more than their fair share of weightlifting in this game to give the offensive opportunity. The offensive laid an egg. We're not going to give the defense a pass for letting a guy go 98 yards. There was plenty of things that went wrong on that drive. But at the same time, if the Raiders defense gives up 17, if they gave up 14 in the first half and 3 in the second half, we wouldn't be complaining about the defense. So we can't have it both ways. Like, you either want them to hold teams under 20 or you want them to throw shutouts. It can't be both. This team's not talented enough on defense. They don't have the pieces. They shouldn't lose to a Baker Mayfield-led team when he came in on 48 hours with no passing option, no receivers to throw to, a bad offensive line. So there's blame to go on. Patrick Graham deserves blame. Josh McDaniels deserves a ton of blame. Derek Carr deserves some blame. They just couldn't get into rhythm. And then obviously the defense had some issues there late in the fourth quarter. So everyone's at fault here. And my thing, once it was set 16-10, you needed 1 first down to win the game. It is okay to throw a play action on first down. It is okay to throw the ball and try to get 10 yards.
It's 17. Was 17?
Put your head down.
Was 17 still in the game, right?
17 is the best receiver in the league, and there are moments that he just disappears. He's had 4 games this year of under 4 catches, and he had 1 in his last 62 in Green Bay. So that's a McDaniels and a Carr issue. That is both of them. That's not one or the other. They're both at fault for that. And I still don't understand the 3rd and 1 call at the end of the game when you're half a yard away. Quarterback sneak it if you want to, but to run out there and try to do a hurry up and put Devontae Adams at tailback and Josh Jacobs in the backfield and try to run a dive into an 8 or 9 man front. And clearly there was miscommunication because no one blocked Bobby Wagner. Like, at that point, like, you're allowed to play fake it, get the ball in the flat, roll out, do something. But to just put your head down and run, and they tried to catch him off guard. They snapped it quick, and there was a lot of questionable play calls in this game. But at the same time, as much as we want to criticize the play calls and the losses, if they run the ball in the games they won, we didn't criticize any of those game calls. It was, it worked, so it was good. Like, you can't have that both ways either. If you want them to be a run-first team and feed Jacobs and they do that, then when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. That's what happens. But you can't say, well, it didn't work in this game, so it was terrible play calling. At some point, it all boils down to, what does the quarterback do? There's winners and there's losers. You have to win games like this. You can't lose this game if you're Derek Carr when you have that lead. We're not even asking you to score in the second half. Just get a damn first down. That's all they had to do. Again, for like the 3rd time this year. And it just didn't happen. Now, he did what Josh wanted him to do, and he's very good at saying that in the press conference. Like, I'll do what Josh calls. I'll run what Josh calls. Matt Collins, if you saw his post game on Raiders.com, wanted nothing to do with this game. He was basically didn't want to talk to anybody. He was staring off, barely answering questions. Kind of why am I even doing this? Matt Collins was in a bad mood, and deservedly so. Their season's over. Like, the playoffs are gone. And this is what we talked about. Whenever the expectations are there, this team doesn't play well. The minute the expectations disappear, they play well for a couple of weeks. And as much as we wanted to think the P word and we wanted to look into the future and say this team is going to go on this magnificent run, let's look back. They beat the Texans. They beat the Broncos twice, once in overtime. They beat the Seahawks in overtime. Those are their wins. Like, they're not running out there and beating teams by 10 to 14 points and running away with games. This game should have been 20-3 at halftime, minimum 16-3. And the minute they didn't capitalize, this team is not talented enough to be able to withstand some of that. And then some of the decisions that happened at the end of the game, the pass interference on Amik Robertson, he had no business holding that guy. Jerry Tillery knocking the ball out of the Baker Mayfield's hand. I mean, what are you doing? You stop the clock. So there's 20, 30 seconds that they get to keep. You give them a first down. It would have been 2nd and at least 15 to 19. I don't remember the exact down and distance. It would have been second and long. Instead, you give him a first down. Like, why is Patrick Graham calling single high safety looks at the end of the game, that whole drive for the most part, when all you have to do is tackle them in bounds because they don't have any timeouts? Why is Amik Robertson letting the guy run out routes 2 times in a row and get out of bounds? Like, everyone messed up on that drive. Why is Nate Hobbs allowing the receiver to get on top of him for a go route down the sideline? Why is Sam Webb in press coverage letting the guy get on top of him for a touchdown? Why are there not 3 safeties standing on the goal line? Why is there not at least 2 safeties standing on the goal line? Why is Doron Harmon, not his fault, they're in cover 1 cross? Why do we care if a guy catches a 10-yard crossing route? The game's over if you tackle him in bounds. But you know what? You took away the crossing route. That was great. You gave up the touchdown down the sideline with an undrafted rookie free agent. So there's a million things that went wrong in that game. And it falls on both the coordinators, the coach, the quarterback, the secondary. Everyone had their hand in this. Jerry Tillery. So every position group on the field, on both sides of the ball, and every coach on that field had a hand in this loss.
So, that's a mouthful, but because we got plenty of mouthfuls here. So, and I have like my points that I wanted to kind of give. Basically when I remember the Patriots when they had Randy Moss. Remember that first year? Randy Moss won the Super Bowl, lost to the Giants.
23 touchdowns or something ridiculous.
Yeah, something ridiculous, right? That. So that was like basically kind of the college version of Bill Belichick, right? Bill Belichick did not care that. Like, I'm watching those games and I'm saying to myself, and I live on the East Coast, so I was forced to watch those games, but they were up by like 2 and 3 scores, and they were still throwing bombs to Randy Moss and still throwing plays to whoever had to. They were just still trying to like break you, just make you look stupid and just embarrass you, being as cutthroat as you possibly could be. Fast forward to right now, like, where is that from this head coach? Like, it's we got a lead. Listen, in the press conference, he said the Rams had a good defense. I don't want to hear that, but whatever. But you know that you don't have a great defense. Like, when they give you what they gave you on Thursday night, that is gravy. Like, this team is built, all the financial, money earmarked for whatever is on the offensive side of the ball. Like, why are you not 100% aggressive? There were punts where they got the ball at the Ram 40-yard line and then ended up having to punt back. Like, you had that 4th and 1. Like, dude, go for it, dude. Like, what are we doing? Like, get something. You sit in an office and design plays all day. Like, give me something to Adams on 3rd and 1. Do something. I mean, I think maybe 1 or 2 times I've seen Adams, unless he's going out of bounds, get tackled by the first guy. Like, he always makes the first guy miss. So even if it's like a little bit behind the line of scrimmage, you're getting a first down. Like, and he might break it for a touchdown. That's how good he is. Like, we talk about what the Raiders don't have a lot. Like, well, the Raiders don't have this, they don't have that. You know what they do have? They have one of the best pass rushers in all of football, who should sue the NFL for the amount of times he gets held. I mean, there has to be some kind of precedent. They have the best receiver. They have the best from scrimmage. He's having a Roger Craig type season. And Josh Jacobs. They have all those things, but yet we're sitting here with our hands in our pocket with a 13-point lead. A 13-point lead is nothing, because it's once they score, it changes the whole dynamic of the game. So, like, I don't understand, like, how you don't want to, one thing I like about some of these other offensive coordinators in the league, they want to score 30 on you regardless. Like, it could be whether your offense scored 3 or 27, their goal is to score 30-something points, 40-something points every single game. Where is that with Josh McDaniels? That's what I don't understand. Why you want to be a play caller and not be aggressive?
I know it's difficult to say this out loud, but when I think about it, I think Josh McDaniels saw this year, and I know he doesn't want to use the term Patriot way, but I really think he's trying to install the Patriot way. Be sound on offense, no penalties, no turnovers, don't lose the game, learn how to win it, situational football. So the only way he can do that is keeping this team in those kind of situations and seeing if they can handle it. Like, we joke about the Big Ten. This was a game, if it was 1983, that he would be coaching at Michigan State or he'd be coaching at Nebraska, and they would just run the ball because the other team is an FCS school and they can't score. He literally treated this like he was Alabama playing an FCS school on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, we have a bye this week. Let's not do anything stupid. Like, his whole game plan was, let's not turn the ball over. Let's run it. Let's don't do anything stupid. Let's not get any penalties. Let's not do this, because we don't think the other team can score at all. And you know what happened? He effed around and he found out, like, in this league, when it comes down to it, like, the offensive guys, as bad as they are for 58 minutes, they're still professionals. Baker Mayfield was still drafted first overall, whether you want to think that he's a good quarterback or not. And I don't think that he is, but for one drive, he can be a good quarterback. For one drive, Tutu Atwell can get open. For one drive, Van Jefferson can beat you down the sideline. So he made this game, he shrunk this game down to the point where it came down to 1 or 2 drives or 1 possession, when this game should have been 27-3, 30-3, and going into the fourth quarter. Guys should have been pulling a Mark Sanchez eating a hot dog on the sideline. Instead, they're out there grinding, trying to get first downs, because Josh McDaniels decided, you know what, we're not going to try to score today. We're literally going to do nothing. And like you said, they got a punt back at, like, inside the Rams' 45-yard line. They didn't even get a field goal attempt that drive. I'm pretty sure they punted.
They don't get a first down. They're 3-and-out.
Yeah, and then again, like, they were 1 for 4 in the red zone. If one of those is a touchdown, this game's not even in consideration. Like, the fact that you have Davante Adams on your team and he's played in every game, and you've only scored on 17 of your 38 red zone attempts, is putrid. Like, I get it. There's no Waller, there's no Renfro, but you still have Foster Moreau. You still have Davante Adams. Like, there's been plenty of times where he's 1-on-1 outside and they're throwing the ball to the other side of the field, or they're running it. Like, at some point, like you said, Derek needs to grow a pair. And basically, if they're in the red zone and you have 1-on-1 Davante Adams and they got a run called to the right, F it. Audible and throw the fade route, or throw a 1-1 route, or throw a slant route.
Give him a chance.
Get the ball to Davante Adams.
Give him a chance.
Like,
give him a chance.
Why'd you throw the ball to Davante Adams? They win.
Yes. Yeah. Like, why'd you bring your best friend here? Like, why did you? He's supposed to be your best friend. Okay. So why did you bring him here just to get him paid? Like, he could have got paid he could have got paid anywhere. Like, well, what is the point of bringing him here if you're not going to go to him? There should be targets should be 3 to 4 a quarter. Like, I mean, that's how many targets he should be having in a game. Like, and you could probably even give him more than that, because he's that good. I mean,
and he's old. He's 31, 32. I don't know his age off the top. Maybe 31. Like, you have 3 or 4 more years left of this, and then it's over. Like, Davante Adams has got 3 or 4 really good years in him. We should probably use him for the next 3 or 4 years. And I'm looking at the targets. I know they only threw the ball 20 times. My question is, did something happen after that interception where Josh McDaniels was like, all right, that was brutal. That was a dumb mistake. So you know what? We're just going to run it because I don't want that to happen again, and it backfired. Because they literally stopped. They threw the ball on 3rd down, but it was – and it's not like they were asking him to convert 3rd and, 12, 3rd and 15. It was literally like 3rd and medium, 3rd and short, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, and they couldn't do that.
I mean,
I haven't looked at the tape yet, so I don't know why, but, like, it's concerning. My other thing, and we always talk about this too, is Derek likes to take the low percentage 3rd and short pass. Like, he'll throw the back shoulder fade, the go route, the wheel route when it's 3rd and 2. Just get 4 yards. You want to throw the ball down the field, do it on 1st and 2nd down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the chance of you completing the 3rd and 2 in the 3rd quarter on the go route to Davante Adams, and one, if you're going to do it, don't throw it out of bounds. Like, let him try to catch the ball. Like,
give him a jump.
Give 3rd and 2 go route. Yeah,
give him a
don't
jump.
Throw
ball.
it out of bounds.
Yeah, every time.
Because you know what happens? You know what the percentage of completing a pass is when you throw it out of bounds? I'm not a math major, but I think it's 0.
No.
So if you throw it in bounds, there's pass interference. There's a 50-50 ball. It's Davante Adams. You could one-hand it. So I kind of think that Josh McDaniels might be losing a little bit of faith here. But I looked up the numbers. Derek Carr's worst month of the year of his career is always December. His quarterback rating is lowest. His completions are lowest. His interceptions are highest. Like, this is kind of what he does. He's starting to fade in December. And what do you think is going to happen next week when Bill Belichick's not going to let them throw the ball to Davante Adams all over the yard. So he's going to have to throw the ball to Matt Collins. Hopefully Renfro and Waller are back. But I don't see Bill Belichick letting you throw the ball to Davante Adams 15 times.
And the one thing that the Patriots really struggle with is quarterbacks who can run, and he's a pocket guy who's not going to ever run anyway. I mean, what about I mean, even the 3rd and 1 from last week, favorable down. He has Devontae open. He has Matt Collins open against the Chargers, and he lollipop to throw. Lollipop
got
to
knocked
throw.
away.
Knocked away. Like, dude, can you throw the ball with some velocity, dude? Like, and you talked about it in our text thread. The dream shake fadeaway. Like, dude,
fadeaway.
Step in and throw the ball. Like, what do we do? What are we doing with that? Like, throw the ball with some velocity there. It drives me crazy. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's almost like as the defense plays is how Derek plays. When the defense gives up 30, he'll score you 27. When the defense gives up 20, he'll score you 16 and you lose. Like, there's never that game where, like, when the defense actually holds a team under 20, which isn't very often, the Raiders don't win those games 35-20 or 31-20. They win them 21-20 or 23-20, or they lose them 20-17, or they lose them 17-16. It's almost like when they have the lead, he doesn't want to be aggressive. And I saw his numbers. If you've seen his, I think Josh DeBoe tweeted out Derek Carr's stats after halftime when they have leads, or he's thrown like 1 touchdown, 1 interception, or like a 50% completion rate this year. It's beyond horrendous. And it's like, at some point, like, I don't know. I think he's coming back next year as much as, like, we want it down there, because I don't think I went around the league, like, there aren't a lot of other options, and I don't think they're going to be in a position to draft one. So Derek Carr is most likely coming back unless someone blows their doors off and gives them a couple of first rounders. I don't see
40. He about to get 40.
I don't agree with it. I wouldn't give him 40, but honestly, what are your options?
I don't know.
Carson Wentz, Jimmy G. Like, who else is going to be available? Matt Ryan. You bringing Marcus Mariota back? Are you trading for Mac Jones? Like, that might be able to trade for some, but why would you give up assets at this point to get a quarterback?
They can't afford. They can't afford to give up assets. They can't afford to give up assets.
Yeah, so
they
like,
can't afford to give up assets.
Unless they lose, 3 of their next 4, and they end up in the top 7 or 8. And you try to trade into the top 3, but
hell no, because Derek will win enough games for you to say, oh man, let me give him 1 more year in the system. 1 year in the system. So we know this. Whether it's the front office or the head coach, really just had a great disdain for John Simpson. So John Simpson was forced to play in this ball game because the great Alex Bars, Hall of Famer Alex Bars, were it's not good. I'm trying, folks. I'm trying. Was out of the game with an injury. So now John Simpson got cut. A cut 25-year-old guard. And you made a good point. Like, to me, is there another guard on the team to take his place?
His name's Jermaine Illuminor. They're going to have to kick Illuminor inside and play in Munford. And then Barton becomes your swing tackle. There's not another guard on the roster. There's not a guard on the practice squad. So the only thing they can do is that. Or they have to put, Grasu, which was interesting that they activated him off the practice squad, and then he was inactive for the game. So he's a center. So if you bring him up, like, is he going to have to play guard? You're not going to start him, but it's interesting that he seems to be the fall guy here. Unless he was just atrocious in the run game. Like, I haven't seen it yet, but it's almost like, and this is when we start talking about depth and building a roster, like, even if you didn't like him, you had him on a rookie deal this year and next year. He's depth. He started every game last season.
I agree.
Even if you don't like him, he's played in 20 games as a professional, 16, 20, whatever it is.
Yep.
You have him on a minimum contract for another year.
So why?
If you don't like him, keep him on the roster.
Exactly.
If you don't like him in training camp, get rid of him in training camp. But unless he went in and had some tirade and blew up on the coaching staff, which I have a hard time believing because he actually played this week.
Yeah.
What is the point of moving on from him? Like, you gain nothing but to be able to wipe your hands and say, look, John Gruden drafted that guy. We don't have any depth. I need more time to build this roster. But that's a selfish move. That tells me this regime is like, oh, crap, like, this roster's not as good as we thought it was, because they had every opportunity to review this roster before the offseason and through training camp.
Yeah.
Where's Lester Cotton? He magically got injured on the practice squad, or not even
They
suiting up on
seem
game days.
that
He's on
moves
IR.
that move to me seems a little like little petty to
Yeah,
me.
like you want to get rid of someone. How about
Yeah.
Tillery knocking the ball to the guy's hand? Now Tillery played pretty well, other than that. But
Other than that, yeah.
you know, what about Cleveland Farrell for jumping off sides? Why does he get to stay around? Like John
Yeah.
Simpson had,
Yeah,
I think,
all
one
the
holding call, but like, how about the stuff that actually cost you the game?
yeah.
If you want to do something, he's a
Well,
John Gruden guy.
well, when you don't want to have reflection on yourself, you do what he did, and he cut John Simpson for no, and like you said, there's hard to find it's hard to find offensive line depth that has experience. So and who's
So you're paying
25
nothing
years
too.
old. You're playing nothing. You're paying him chump change, and you have control of his of him. So why not? So why do that? It makes no sense. Makes no sense. Somebody did text me, and I was just like, I want to like, I mean, I laughed when I sent it out. I laughed when I got the text, but they're like, hey, would you think Baker Mayfield would be a good bridge quarterback for the Raiders next year if they want to do that?
No, I don't.
He's not a good quarterback, period. You know what I mean? So like it is what it is. I mean, and the run I am like he's shorter, he can't really see. So I'm gonna leave the middle open. That's what I mean. That makes sense, I guess. But I'm not gonna go in. I can go in on Patrick Graham, whatever. But the 2 weeks in a row, they held the opponents on the 20 points again. Like this is 2 weeks in a row. The Chargers scored 20 because Derek threw a pick six. I'm not throwing that on the defense. They literally gave up, you know, they literally gave up, under 20 points 2 weeks in a row, and I was told that's all
13 and 17. Yeah.
13 17, and I was told that's all Derek Carr needed. Like you realize that he couldn't get 19 points in this game, or had to help lead the team to win the game. Couldn't get 19 points in this ball game. Game time.
They scored 9 points after the opening drive, and the defense gave them the ball over and over and over and over again, and with opportunities. And they moved the ball. They just couldn't do anything in the red zone, and you end up getting, 4 field goals. But
what do you do in a situation where you have a guy? I mean, this is a guy who started coaching when he was very young. And a lot of coaches who are around Bill Belichick are very young. He's always had young coaches. And then they get their start pretty young. He has over like almost 30 years of experience and still making like some of the most bonehead moves I can see as far as like game management, like all this stuff like that. Like what, like they're just like we had that question last week where it was like, does he see the end of his contract? Like I just
not at this pace he doesn't.
I mean, I don't. I mean, no way. There's no way you see that. And I mean, and it's funny because like this schedule looked so damning when the season started, right? It was like, oh, at the Rams, this and that, and then you end up playing these teams, and the league is not in a good place as far as good teams. There are not a lot of good teams in the National Football League, and all you have to do is just be a normal functioning team, and the Raiders record could be reversed or at least be 6 wins, 7 wins, like stuff like that. And now you're just in the the shitter as far as the season goes. I mean, there's no other way to say. I mean, they're 4-8 with Max Crosby having a mega year. They found like this year's David Emerson and Tillery, who's giving them something that he just desperately needed. As the season's going along, Bilal Nichols is giving you inside pressure. Like you thought he was at the beginning of the season. Chandler Jones is making plays. He had 3 sacks last week, forced a fumble this week, and
a sack this week.
And a sack this week. So he's coming on right now. So everybody talks about what the Raiders don't have, but what they do have is a defensive line that's coming on strong. They have an all-world running back, an all-world wide receiver. They're doing all this stuff without without the tight end, without the slot receiver, and they're still losing games to pretty much a practice squad. I mean, a practice squad, a bunch of guys, and they keep showing. I mean, like Raheem Morris didn't even do anything in this game. They really stopped the Raiders.
Yeah, I think the point out of all that, the point that you brought up the most was, and that I think about is, where is Josh McDaniels on the last drive of the game when they're on defense? He's the head coach of this football team. He's not just the offensive coordinator.
Yep.
If my defensive coordinator is going to play single high when they need to go 98 yards with no timeouts And after they gave up the ball down the sideline that Nate Hobbs got, and Nate Hobbs was not good in this game either. Like, he's kind of showing you that he's not going to be a true number one outside guy that everyone wants him to be. He's probably a solid number two outside guy or better in a slot. But after they gave up that ball down the sideline to get the Rams to midfield, take off the headset, Josh. You're not the offensive coordinator, and tell Patrick Graham to put two high and make them throw the ball underneath and dump it down. They just stayed in single high all the way down the field.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, you have to manage the team and not just be the offensive coordinator. Yeah. You can't let Patrick Graham have autonomy, because that's going to reflect on Josh McDaniels, and he is the head coach. He is not just the play caller.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering, where is he? Like, he's allowing this. He's allowing it to happen, so he's encouraging these play calls. He's on the sideline. He knows the defense is going in. He's not stepping in and changing anything. Like, that's the easiest first guess in the history of first guesses is, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you leaving a rookie corner one-on-one on the outside with no safety help, when literally if they catch the ball and you tackle them and bounce, the game is over? And the only way they can beat you is to throw it in the end zone, and you allow that to happen.
Ryan, if that was Charles Woodson instead of Webb, that's still the wrong defense to be in.
It's the wrong defense.
No matter who's out there. That could be Rod Woodson. That could be, that could be Terry McDaniel. It doesn't matter. That's still the wrong defense. You call timeout. You do what you have to do to get that situation straight. And even on the go route that he caught on Hobbs, what exactly was Trayvon Merrick doing when he came over? Like, I mean, go through. Like, I mean, he ran like right behind. I don't know if you saw that play. He ran like right behind it. Could he have made a play on that ball, or was he just too far away?
I'm actually I have the all 22 up on my computer right now. It's like the next play or the play after. If you want me to watch it.
Yeah. Well, watch that one, because it seems like if he beelines right to Swerrick, whatever his name is, he could have knocked that ball out. It seemed like because Hobbs was in that position, he didn't even try to make a play on that. He just ran behind him and didn't even touch the guy.
So yeah, he's lined up between the hash and the numbers to that side of the field, but they're in cover one cross, so he's working back across the field toward the middle. So he's basically on the Rams logo at the horns, and he breaks out on this pretty early. But this is thrown right along the sideline. He's pretty close. Like, he's basically doing what he needs to do. But why is Nate Hobbs letting this guy get on top of him when they're playing cover one? Like, they're in press coverage right here. They're on the 26-yard line.
I can't.
And Hobbs gets beat by a slow white guy down the sideline. So I don't know. And then they stayed in the defense the rest of the drive after that. So it's almost like Josh McDaniels is just over there like twiddling his thumbs, like, oh, this is cool. Let's let him do it again.
And it's funny. It's funny because like this is the point that like I listen to a lot of people. I listen to only a couple because we do a podcast. I don't like listening to a bunch of different podcasts because I don't want people to say I put their shit in my podcast. I'll try to give credit where credit is due. But the point that I've noticed and I've heard Michael Lombardi talk about that is like these guys we're hiring people who are just fancy play callers and not head coaches. And I wouldn't even call him a fancy play caller because he's not really fancy. His trick plays are like, I mean, he tried to run another one today on Thursday and it didn't work. But Jacobs, but like, I mean, I just don't know why, like, you can't, I'm not saying to give up the play calling, but you have to be able to like, okay, when like you said, when the defense, when you hear the defensive call and it's not the right one, like, I just don't know how you possibly can sit there and just like listen to that play and just be like, okay, let that one slide. Like Patrick, I don't care who the defensive coordinator is. Like, I don't care if he has like Super Bowl rings. Like, you can't give him that autonomy. His mistakes are go on your record. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, didn't Denzel Washington say, I've never heard a defensive coordinator and remember the Titans, he's like, I never heard the defensive coordinator's name in the newspaper for a game or for a game loss, like, you know what I mean, or something like that, or his record. Like, it's your loss. Like, you want to take that loss because you want to quit. It seems like my biggest thing too is that it seems like this team doesn't have they're leaderless in my mind. Like, he's supposed to be the leader of this team, He's the head coach. Like, yes, the coaches have like what Tom Coughlin had, like the council, general council with like some of the best players on the Giants. We're kind of that filter for the coach for the players, but like he needs. I mean, like him, he has to be the guy. Like, this is your last shot to be a head coach. Your last one. This is your third opportunity because you didn't want to take over the Colts. And you're doing this. I mean, like, this idea that you're gonna sit there and wait and be like, oh, when I get my players, you know, Dennis Allen, when he was at the Raiders, how long did he wait to get his players before he got fired? Like, you know, all you have to win. You have to do what they're doing in New York. You have to do what they're doing in Miami, what they're doing in Minnesota. Like, they're winning now because that's how you get players to come over to your team, be free agency, and that's how you get, you know, rookies to come in and not be malcontents. They see a winning culture and they say, "Oh, I can't f around and find out because I gotta go get with the program because they're already winning here." When you're that's how you get malcontent, like losing attitude players coming to your squad because, oh, I'll just mess with the Raiders because they'll pay me more because they've been losing. Like, that's not how you do what you have to do. You have to win immediately. Your biggest impact as a head coach is year one, and I'm not seeing the impact here. I feel like I really feel like if they brought back Bisaccia and that staff, maybe not keep Greg Olsen as the play caller, but like, I think if they brought that group back, I think the Raiders would actually have a better record. Like, honest to God.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'm looking at the Merrick play again on that go route. Like the slot receiver ran up the hash, so like he had to stay towards the middle of the field.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. Like, I was in agree. I thought they needed to move on from Bisaccia because I thought they needed to bring in an offensive-minded guy that would be a good play caller, could unlock this offense. Well, obviously, that hasn't really happened. Like, the guy they brought in hasn't done that. I was all for Harbaugh, like gritty, hard-nosed, get after it, run the ball, physical.
Yeah.
I used to be a college baseball coach, and the one thing that always stuck out to me is I went to these conventions with other baseball coaches, and they always said, "What you allow, you encourage." And that was the thing that always stuck with me. What I allowed my players to do, whether I thought it was right or wrong, if I didn't say anything about it and I let it continue to happen, I was encouraging it by not stopping it from happening. Exactly. I think that's kind of what's going on in this locker room right now. Is you hear all this leaders. We hear about all this great leadership the Raiders have. Why do they keep doing this? This happens over and over every year, year to year. And the whole way that Josh McDaniels has been carrying himself, kind of just laid back. I'm not going to be a type A personality. I'm not going to be demanding. I'm not going to get on my players. I'm going to be their buddy. Well, the Raiders kind of play like that. When they get leads, they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to learn how to win. We're going to do this. You don't see a fire. You don't see them continuing to keep the foot on the pedal per se. And I think that they're becoming what their head coach is doing and talking about. And organically, this team is carrying on his personality, and that's not working. Like, it's clearly backfiring.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather see like a more raw guy out there, a more guy that's gonna, hold guys accountable. Like, you're not holding anyone accountable by cutting John Simpson.
Ooh, you want to hold someone accountable?
Let's see Tillery and let's see Farrell on the inactive list next week. Let's do something about it. Right? Yeah. They won't do it, but like, you want to be that guy and you want to have accountability within your locker room where these guys mess up. You can't take it out on the 53rd guy on the roster. That's not going to work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I had a question because about a rule. Like, what's the rule on special teams about jumping over the center? Is that?
I thought it was if you don't make contact with him, it's fine. If you do, it's a penalty. I'm pretty sure Bobby Wagner made contact trying to block one of those field goals, and I think he landed on the center, and there was no penalty call.
Yeah, because I think on one of those, and I'm not sure how Daniel Carlson got the ball around. I think he kicked it around Jalen Ramsey, but Jalen Ramsey jumped over the center, and I was just like, oh, so if there's no contact made,
I think if you don't make contact, it's fine.
So if you're the center,
but if you make contact with him, it's a penalty.
So if you're the center, if you see somebody jump, why don't you just touch him?
Stand up.
It's a penalty. It's a penalty every time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's common sense as far as that goes. Is there in this long time of like, and I understand that, like, there might not be a quality player to replace Derek, but is there we're in charge of the Raiders. We're having a discussion, and one of our guys comes to us and says, "What is the metric that would keep that makes you feel like we should keep him at quarterback for the coming years and pay him $40 million a year?"
The metric?
Like the number, like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, as far as like the stat, like, is there a statistical, because like in every statistical like category that you want a quarterback to be good in, he struggles in, like wins, first quarter, like, red
Completion
zone,
percentage this year.
completion percentage. That there's not a one. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of like why he should be the quarterback. Like I know you're against it. I am for moving on and getting Brady and then drafting a quarterback. But I understand, like, I understand.
Yeah, I'm not against moving on. I am
Yeah.
against moving on for a 46-year-old quarterback
Yeah.
that's played
No,
terribly this year.
I know. I totally understand.
I think the reason you would bring him back is, one, this offense it's a pretty difficult offense to pick up based on that. A lot of the routes are based on the coverages, middle of the field open, middle of the field close. What's this guy doing? Receiver and the quarterback have to be on the same play. It'd be a very difficult offense, I think, for a rookie to run.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Mac Jones did it last year, but it's not an offense where you can just plug anyone back there and have success. So
It has to be somebody who
if
played
Josh
in it
McDaniels
before, right?
is willing to roll the dice and play a rookie with the understanding he might win 4 or 5 games next year,
Which
and
he
Mark
can't
Davis
do.
might fire him at that
Can't do
point.
it.
So
You can't do it.
to me, like, he doesn't make enough plays with his legs. It's not his fault. That's just not who he is in today's NFL. He makes it too easy for the defense to be right too often. He doesn't take enough chances. He won't force the ball or get it to his number one guy. I keep seeing all these guys on Twitter. Well, he got Mac Jones, or he's gonna get Mac Collins paid. He got Zay Jones paid. He got Aguilar paid. Well, he's very good at getting the number 3 or 4 receiver paid because the other team really doesn't care about those players. But at the same time, let's look at snap counts. How many plays Zay Jones was out there? Zay Jones didn't light the world on fire, but he's got to throw it to someone. And he's got to throw it to Matt Collins because they're double teaming everyone else. So, like, yeah, Matt Collins is going to beat his career total of, I don't know, 16 or 20 catches, whatever his career high was. That doesn't mean Matt Collins is a good player.
Yeah.
But someone may pay him because they'll just look at the numbers and say Matt Collins had 50 catches this year or whatever it's going to turn out to be. So we need to get over that narrative. But I think I honestly think he's coming back. I don't know if I would agree with that. I think if they're in the top 5 and they have a chance to get a quarterback they think him better, I'm all for getting the rookie quarterback so you can build the rest of the roster. You might be wrong. I had this conversation with another Raider fan the other day who's completely against getting rid of Derek Carr because he loves Devontae Adams. He wants Devontae Adams around. He's afraid that Devontae Adams is going to leave. But his whole argument was, well, I remember all the trash quarterbacks the Raiders had. And I said, well, honestly, they only one of those guys they took in the first round, and it was obviously Jamarcus Russell's a complete bust. But when you go out and you sign Kerry Collins, or you go out and sign an Aaron Brooks, or you go out and sign a Jason Campbell, or you go out and sign like these veteran older quarterbacks, you're getting what you know they are. They're not going to turn him into a superstar just because you brought him onto your roster. That doesn't happen outside of Rich Gannon. That happened with him. But it's not like the Raiders took 3 quarterbacks in the first round in those 20 years and they all flamed out. They took 1. And the only place you can get a franchise-changing quarterback, the odds are you have to do it. You have to do it in the first round. Like, the misses at third round on are for every Dak Prescott and for every Russell Wilson, there's probably 40 or 50 guys that didn't make it, that never played a snap in the league, that the Connor Cooks of the world that we never hear from again. Derek was an early second rounder, was picked 35th. You can find a guy occasionally in the second round, but go around the league. All the good quarterbacks, all the difference makers, they're all first rounders. Yeah. So if the Raiders want that kind of guy, I don't think this is the year to do it because I don't think they're going to be in a spot. I wouldn't overdraft Richardson or Levis to do it because at this point, I know it's December. I don't really believe in either one of those guys as being that kind of guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I do some research on them, they're better than I'm giving them credit for. But there's just no alternatives out there. I tried. I was looking through the league this week, and I'm like, you know what? I think Derek's an average quarterback, and I think you can win with him if everything around is right. If you have a really good offensive line, if he has Devontae Adams, if they bring Jacobs back, the defense is in the top 15. But where they're at now, it's going to be almost you're not going to be able to fix all of that in one offseason. And now they're just giving away depth left and right because Gruden drafted this guy or Gruden drafted that guy. That's just another hole in the roster they have to fill. They have 30 now. They have 30 guys on the roster as of next year. Like, they can't even field half a team at this point.
Yeah.
And now Raider fans want them to go out and add this and add that. Well, you're taking all these guys off the team: Jacob Johnson, Mac Hollins, Denzel Perryman, Jerry Tillery. There's Deron Harmon. There's a lot of guys that are key guys on this team this year. They're free agents that you have to re-sign, which is going to eat into that cap space.
Yeah.
The Raiders aren't going to be able to go out in free agency and sign 6 or 7 guys and plug them in and say, here we go, we're going to have a top 10 defense and a top 5 offense. Like, they're going to have to get rid of guys on this roster. They're going to have to make tough decisions, and they're still probably 2 or 3 years away from having that kind of roster. That's the truth.
As they say in the Matrix, when they went to talk to the Oracle, we don't tell you what you want to hear, we tell you what you need to hear. That's what you need to hear on this show. So I mean, that
doesn't mean they can't find a way to win 10 games and get in the playoffs next year. But if you think they can retool this roster and they're going head to head with the Chiefs and they're winning 12 or 13 games next year, I got some land I can sell you.
No, it's not gonna. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So
I hope it happens, but the chances of it happening are very slim.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. The only way
they have to pay Jacobs. Jacobs is going to go out there and get $12 to $15 million.
And the only thing you could possibly do is maybe ask Carr to take less money to help build the defense. But if you're Derek,
why would you do that?
We could say whatever we want about Derek, and we could talk about all these different things. Like, at the end of the day, Derek ain't doing that about his paper. Derek is taking his paper. Trust me. Trust me, he takes his paper.
I will add this, that professional sports are often run by the agents behind the scenes. And if you're Derek Carr, you have 3 years of 120 million, whatever that number is, over the next 3 years, as of the third day of the league year. So one, you just signed an extension where they didn't give you guaranteed money. Really, they gave him what, $5 to $7 million in new money? That's nothing in the quarterback world. Why would Derek Carr's agent allow him to take less money? Because that looks bad on the agent for the next quarterback that he wants to go get. And then Derek can always overrule him and say, you know what, I want to stay here and I want to do this, but the odds of that happening are slim to none. If I'm Derek, I'm going to say, okay, you want me back? That's the number. Whatever the contract I signed for $40 million or $43 million. And I see a lot of people saying, well, Darren Waller should take a pay cut and Hunter Renfrow should get a pay cut. Their agents aren't going to let them take pay cuts just because they were hurt.
No.
Like, you want to release them and they can go get another payday? They're getting paid whether you release them or not. Like, they're not just going to say, you know what, I was hurt, here's my money back. If I'm Hunter Renfrow, I'll be like, remember the 1,000 yards and 100 catches I gave you for league minimum in the 5th round?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
You didn't pay me for that. Like, I don't get back pay for having that. So that just doesn't happen in professional sports. Fans think they want to do it. Like, it wouldn't happen at my job or your job.
No.
Like, if you have a bad year at work, your boss isn't going to ask you to, come take money, but they're not going to give you money if you overperform the salary you're paying you.
Exactly.
Like, that's just not how it works. The agents will never let that happen. When guys take a pay cut, it's only when they're about to get released and the agent has asked around and that market doesn't exist for that player.
Exactly. And then I think the biggest thing too is them. I think he's coming on right now, but it would have been more conducive to this roster if they signed multiple players for the money that they gave Chandler Jones, because Chandler Jones is coming on now, but for what he's done in the beginning, you could have maybe gotten a couple of more players for that. I mean, maybe offensive, defensive line. So we'll see about that. But they are going to.
And also,
go ahead.
I would add, they didn't have to pay Derek Carr this past offseason. They didn't have to pay Waller, and they didn't have to pay Renfrow.
Yep. Did not.
They didn't have to. They chose to. Which is fine because they want to lock those guys up and keep them around. But then everything has backfired and spiraled since then. So
yes, correct.
What about Darren Waller releasing a music video on? Did you see that? He released a music video, I think, right after the Raiders lost to the Rams on YouTube or something.
I personally don't I don't to me, it's it's never going to be. He's not playing right now, so unless it's the off season, it was never going to be a good time. And he's not playing.
The optics just look bad. Like,
Yeah,
can't
to
wait till
me,
Monday. You had to do it like right after the game.
I mean, to me, it's like maybe he wanted to play in this game, and they said, "Oh, you can't play this week because of whatever." Who knows? I mean, to me, I don't really like what they do. What they do in their off time is what they do in their off time. I don't really. I don't like. I get why somebody would not like that, but I don't really. I don't get into that too much. But it is what it is. It's what it is. They paid him, so hey, they did what they had to do. They put all their money in the offense, and they're still middle of the road offensively. They're not a great offense. So even with multiple opportunities to do so, which is crazy.
And they're not good on third down either, which is tough to do when you have Devontae Adams.
Third down on either side of the ball. As far as that goes, special teams, jumping off sides for the 4th and 5. Like, I mean, I don't know.
I still have to watch the offense all 22. I'm going to fall asleep watching them just turn around and hand it off.
No, it's a lot. It's. I mean, I saw a lot of it this morning. It was just like it's not good football. Not good football. But he has 30 years of experience, so he should be able to turn this around, right? When he gets his guys here, as far as that goes, it is what it is. All of a sudden, like when you switch presidents, that economy becomes your economy. Like, what I'm saying? Like, it happens. I mean, no matter how bad it was before, like, it becomes yours. Like, this is your roster now. Like, how many people from the Gruden era are going to be
two-thirds of the roster is their roster. They brought him in
roster
before this year.
Exactly. So, like, this idea that he's gonna, like, I'm here. That's why I hear lazy takes when the people say, "Oh, once Josh gets his players in there," I'm like, okay, well, he signs off on all of it. Like, he's I mean, you can talk about Ziegler or whatever. Like, the guy who's doing all this stuff is Josh McDaniels. So,
can we pump the brakes on we need to give them multiple drafts because they did a hell of a job this year. Like, Dylan Parham's regressing. He's not playing nearly as well as he did early. Thayer Mumford can barely get any snaps. Zamir White doesn't play. Britton Brown's inactive, and both defensive tackles have been non-factors. So, like, what did this draft really bring them?
He doesn't really have much wiggle to him because I saw a run when I was watching the offense this week where he just, like, there was
straight into the line.
Yeah, he ran straight into the line where he could have bounced that play outside or cut it to the inside. And maybe, I mean, yes, there was a penetration, but he ran right into he pulled a Mark Sanchez and ran right into the lineman. Like, what are you doing? Like, you can run. You're allowed to run outside or inside around that play. Like, that was just ridiculous. But it is what it is. That was their guy. And Britton Brown, calling Britton Brown, unbelievable.
I think this is the longest recap show in the history of recap.
Yes, it is.
Shows.
We gotta go. Yeah, we gotta go. We did an hour in there. We gotta get out of here.
We give the fans 2 episodes in one.
Exactly. All right, Raider Nation. Have a good day. Kiss your kids. Do something else besides watch Raider football. At least you get a Sunday off because they couldn't do anything. All right, Ryan. Take care.
All right, take care.
Peace.